Welcome, everyone, to today's conversation, where we unlock the entrepreneurial edge with industry experts who are making an impact. I'm thrilled to introduce our next guest, Aaron Slavik, a man whose journey is as inspiring as it is impactful. Raised in Minnesota and now thriving in Florida, Aaron and his wife are parents to 7 amazing kids, 2 biological and 5 adopted through foster care. His passion for serving others extends far beyond his personal life. Professionally, he helps business owners and real estate investors keep more of what they earn by leveraging tax saving strategies. As part of CSSI, America's leading provider of engineering based tax solutions, Aaron specializes in unlocking hidden cash flow, reducing tax burdens, and ensuring property owners take full advantage of available incentives. Beyond the numbers, Aaron is a devoted husband, a Minnesota Twins fan, a Disney enthusiast, and a connoisseur of funky socks. So let's dive into this conversation and uncover how Aaron's expertise can help you put more money back in your business and your pocket. Aaron, welcome. It's great to have you here.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you. So, your journey into advocacy and foster care is incredibly inspiring. How has your experience as a father of 7 shaped your approach to business and helping others?
Really, it all comes down to, for me, just wanting to do the best thing for my kids. I have 7 kids, and all of us have experienced some sort of trauma related to foster care and through navigating their life. And so just that the idea that everybody needs some help,
Hmm.
everybody wants to do the right thing. So I use all of that to motivate me in my business. Everything I do is for my kids. Everything I do is driven by that desire to make a difference. And I can do that with, through business and through other volunteer opportunities that I have, is really just an opportunity to, hopefully leave the world a little bit better than I came into it with.
Well, that's an awesome example for others to follow. So, that's awesome that you do that. Thank you. So taxes can feel overwhelming for business owners. What are some of the biggest tax saving opportunities that real estate owners and entrepreneurs often overlook?
Well, I mean, as somebody that really does focus on cost segregation, it's one of the things that so many entrepreneurs don't know anything about, or if they do know about it, they have a warped idea of what it really is.
Mhm.
And so, for me, in my role with CSSI, it's important that I help people understand what the truth really is. You know, I'm yeah, I've grown up in church, and I'm a big volunteer with church and everything that goes into that. We always hear that even if you're unchurched, you hear, the truth and the truth will set you free.
Yeah.
I just like to be upfront and give people some truth that they don't know. And when it comes to taxes, let's be real, that tax code is so complicated that
Mhm.
you almost need to be a Mensa member to understand it. So I like to break it down, be real simple with my little niche in the tax world, and help people understand really what that truth is, so that they can have more of that money back in their pocket. Simplify it a little bit, and just make it an easy conversation between two people, instead of being way over their head and trying to give an explanation that they can't even wrap their head around.
Yeah. Well, CPAs aren't specialists in real estate. So, do you connect them? Do you help people be able to talk to their CPAs?
Yeah, so that was actually, one of the points that I wanted to bring up is, people put a lot of trust in their CPAs to prepare their taxes. But when your CPA is putting your taxes together, they don't know all the ins and outs of cost segregation.
Hmm.
All they know is to where to put depreciation number or the depreciation value in the right spot on a tax return. So most CPAs aren't really well versed in cost segregation. So part of what I like to do is partner with CPAs so that their clients can get the most value out of their service, and then they can save the most amount of money, which makes their CPA looks like a genius,
Mhm.
and that makes me look pretty good too at the same time. So I don't mind that.
Yeah, and then helps the client, right?
Exactly. So it adds value to everybody. So it adds
Yeah.
value to me and my company and my service, and adds value to their CPA because their CPA is smart enough to know that they don't know what they don't know.
Mhm.
And so, let's let the experts be the expert.
Do you think sometimes CPAs don't think big enough for the client? Like maybe if you're just a small business?
I don't know if it's just that they don't think big enough. I think it's just the fact that they don't know.
Oh,
And
okay.
it's not that they're small-minded.
Yeah.
Generally, CPAs want to do the best thing for their client anyways. At least that's been my experience.
Yeah.
They want their clients to be happy, and they
Mhm.
want to do the best thing for them, but they just don't know what that best thing is all the time.
Okay.
So,
Well, unlocking that hidden cash flow, you talk a lot about unlocking the hidden cash flow. And can you break that down for us? What does that mean? And how can businesses start finding and utilizing this hidden cash?
yeah, when I think of cash flow, it's not so much like what most entrepreneurs, and I mean, I'm mostly in the real estate world, what a real estate investor thinks of cash flow. A lot of times they're thinking of like a rental property where they have a monthly recurring profit, right?
Mhm.
And so for me, the cash flow is well, let's look at cash flow as not just being so narrow-minded. Let's look at the bigger picture and realize cash flow is any amount of cash that's flowing from somebody else to you. And so with cost segregation, it's that cash flow going from the IRS back into your pocket, because we all know the IRS doesn't want to give you any of your money back. They work really hard to make sure that they take as much as they can, and they don't want to give what's rightfully yours. That's why we have to do a tax return every year, because the IRS wants to make sure that they're getting everything that they can,
Yeah.
and they're kind of hoping that you don't know about how to get more of your money.
Yeah.
So so that's the cash flow that I like to advise people on. Part of what we do is making sure that you're keeping your property in compliance with those different what's the word I'm looking for, with those different opportunities,
Yeah.
or for the cash flow to really be optimized, right?
Yeah.
I want to
Maximize it out.
Yeah, make
Yeah.
sure that you're getting the most amount possible.
Well, CSSI specializes in engineering-based tax solutions. Can you explain how cost segregation works and why real estate owners should consider it?
Yeah, absolutely. And, obviously, me working for CSSI, this is my bread and butter. So the way that the tax code works, right, is just say you're a commercial property owner and you own a building, and that could be anything from a condo that you rent out to a multi-billion-dollar medical facility.
Okay.
The IRS allows you with a straight line depreciation to depreciate a certain percentage every year on your taxes. And they call it a depreciation because they understand that nothing lasts forever.
Hmm.
If you own a building, you're going to have to replace flooring. You're going to have to replace light fixtures. You're going to have to replace signage. You're going to have to replace HVAC systems. You're going to have to replace roofing or parking lots or all of these different things, right?
Yeah.
And so that's why you're allowed to depreciate a certain percentage of the purchase price of that property. Now, what cost segregation is going to do is it's going to accelerate the depreciation of that building. And so what we do is we do an engineering based study, which means that we're going to give you the tangible property reports. Okay. And this means we're going to send a person out to your property to take the pictures of that property. We're going to take a look at all of the infrastructure that exists and say, okay, so there's certain things that you're going to have to replace every 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have to replace light fixtures. You're going to have to replace, if there's a restroom in that building, which there better be. You're going to have to replace some floor tiles, right? You're going to have to replace uh,
Faucets.
faucets. You're going to have to replace all of these things because things are going to deteriorate over
Right.
time. So we're going to put those into the correct category, whether it's something that's typically replaced every 5 years, 7 years, 15 years, and we're going to front load your depreciation to give you a bigger chunk up front. Because we've seen it, especially over the last 5 years or so, where inflation's gone sky high, right?
Mm-hmm.
That dozen eggs that you were able to buy for $1.25 5 years ago, you're now paying 4 times that
Yeah.
at the very least. So your dollar was worth more
Mm-hmm.
4 years, 5 years ago than it is now. And so if we look at that from a depreciation of your property standpoint, imagine, you've got this property and you're taking a straight line depreciation. Well, you're if you take a big chunk up front, that dollar that you're saving now and getting tax relief for now
Yeah.
is going to be worth a whole lot more than it's going to be worth 10 years down the road. So you're able to keep that money yourself. You're
Yeah.
able to not worry about what the IRS is going to do with your money. You're able to do more with it up front instead of giving the IRS an interest-free loan essentially for the next 27 and a half or 39 years, depending on whether it's a residential or
Or
commercial
commercial.
property.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, keep more of your money up front, stick it to the IRS a little bit. Even though it's written into the tax code, the IRS wants you to do it, but they're not going after anybody that's doing it or that's not doing it because
Yeah.
they like your money. They
Yeah.
want to hold on to it as long as possible.
Well, what if you already have a building that you've been depreciating out for so many years? Can you switch to cost segregation?
Yeah, absolutely. So, say you've got a property and I'm just going to throw out a number.
Mm-hmm.
Say it's a small property. Maybe it's only $150,000 condo and you've been depreciating $1,200 a month or not a month per year
Yeah.
for a few years. What cost segregation would do is we would still be able to give you that accelerated depreciation. We would just subtract whatever or your CPA, I should say, would already subtract what you've already depreciated out of that bigger chunk. So say it's $60,000 and you've already depreciated say 5,000. They would just take out that 5,000 that you've already depreciated
Mm-hmm.
from that $50,000 in the accelerated depreciation, still giving you that benefit. So typically the way I like to think of it is up to that 10-year mark
Mm-hmm.
is you're still going to get value out of depreciation. If you've had a property for 15 years, don't depreciate it. It's not really going to be financially worth it.
Yeah.
And for me, and my integrity is worth enough where I'll say, yeah, I'm not the right person for you.
Yeah. What about this would really work well for if you were older and you know you're not going to live for 39 and a half years. So I think that cost segregation would actually be even more beneficial.
And I mean, that's a great example. But for most of the people that I talk to, they're investors. And most investors are not in it for 39 years.
Yeah.
Most investors are looking, unless they're like a property flipper, They're
Hmm.
looking to stay in for 3 to 5 years and then turn around and sell and get their property or get their capital gains
Yeah.
and move that to another investment. Or, like you said, maybe they're a little bit older and they just say, you know what, I'm going to take my money and run,
Yeah.
and I'm out. So that's that's another aspect of the investing space that I'm in, is really helping people say, you know what, I'm only going to be in this for 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
I want to get the most out of this property as possible and pay the least amount of taxes along the way.
Okay. So then the new owner, let's say you sell your building and then the new owner, do they get to start the cost segregation for them?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So it's not based on the property itself, it's based on the property owner.
Okay.
So even if you are a partner in a property, most most commercial properties are owned by investors
Yeah.
and owned by a group of people that are all partners in that investment. So those investors and those partners are all able to get the equal amount of cost segregation benefit to whatever their percentage is that they own of the property.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Many business owners worry about audits when exploring tax strategies. What would you say to those who are hesitant about cost segregation or other advanced tax saving techniques?
Well, one of the things I really love about working for CSSI specifically is we do give you that tangible property report. And I kind of go back to that because it helps keep your property in compliance. So, in the case of an audit, you've got all of that paperwork that you hand over to the IRS, and the IRS knows CSSI. If they see CSSI on the top of a report,
Hmm.
they're going to know that it's done the right way. In the 18 years that we've been around, and an audit has never been triggered by a CSSI cost segregation report. And I can't say that for everybody else,
Yeah.
because and so in the case where you do get audited, we also provide the audit protection for you at no additional cost. That's all wrapped up in the initial costs for us. We're saying, hey, look, if something happens and you do get audited, we want our clients to be protected in that case. So we're going to provide that for you for as long as you would need. Whether it happens a year from now, whether it happens 5 years from now, and the
Mhm.
IRS is just getting around to noticing that you had cost segregation done, we're going to still provide all of those services for you at no additional cost.
Awesome. Well, that's good to know. What are the most common tax mistakes you see businesses making, and how can they avoid leaving money on the table?
Well, a lot of people just trust their CPAs to do everything for them. They
Hmm.
trust that the CPA knows everything. And so when it comes to taxes, the biggest mistakes that I see people make is that they've got somebody that's an expert in one thing, but not an expert in everything.
Hmm.
Like I've got a good buddy of mine that is really, really big into financing for commercial properties and hotels. And so we were at a trade show for hotel owners, and we were kind of hanging out together. And the first question he was asking his friends and clients was, have you done any property improvements? And if they said yes, then he was sending people over to me. And I said, well, you do know that it you can do cost segregation on any property. You don't have to have had you know, any
Yeah.
capital improvements, or any capital expenditures on that property in order to qualify for cost segregation. So he's an expert in the finance side of things.
Hmm.
But he's not a cost segregation expert. Same thing with the CPA, where they're experts at plugging those numbers into the right place on the tax form.
Yeah.
and helping you out with your receipts, they're not experts in cost segregation, and so they don't like to do it. So it's when it comes to taxes specifically, business owners and other entrepreneurs are not they're not well versed in every aspect of their taxes. So the CPAs just don't know. They just don't know what they don't know.
Yeah.
And CPAs don't like to do cost segregation because it takes more time for them to do it.
Yeah.
And that's not what they get paid for. They get paid to plug the numbers in to to number 178A, whatever that means, right?
Yeah.
That's why
And
I
I
don't.
think more people need to read you're right about they just hand it over to their CPA and then just go in and sign it and send it in. They don't actually read it and see, or even investigate things like talking to somebody like you for cost segregation because they just say, oh, well, my CPA is doing everything. And maybe they're not. Maybe they're not just looking for everything. So yeah, I need to do a better job of that too, is reading before I sign and send it in, but also checking out different people, like you and being around the right people and learning more about different things like this. I'm glad that I met you because I didn't know about cost segregation until I met you. I think more people need to look for different areas like that so that they aren't leaving money on the table.
Exactly. And to that point, there are the last stat I heard was about a year ago, but there were 12 million properties, 12 million commercial properties in the United States that qualify for cost segregation. Now, that doesn't even include like a residential property that somebody may own that they use as a rental
Hmm.
for that traditional cash flow that we talked about. But that doesn't include those residential properties. So we're talking 12 million commercial properties that qualify for cost segregation, and my company is the largest one, and we've done 45,000 studies to date.
Wow.
So there's such a disparity
Hmm.
in what is available for people, but they just don't know.
Yeah.
Or when it comes to residential properties, they think, well, my property's too small. Cost segregation is only for these big multi-million, billion-dollar properties. It's not for the little guy, the
Hmm.
smaller investor like myself, which just isn't true. So
Well, you need to get the word out.
that's why I'm here with you.
That's right. We need to get the word out about you. Well, you have a deep faith and a passion for serving others. How does your belief system influence the way you approach wealth, business, and helping people maximize their financial potential?
For me, I kind of mentioned it earlier, but I have always said, and I've been in the sales game in one aspect or another for years and years. I've been with companies that do things the right way, and I've been with other companies that just grieved my spirit when I went into work every day because my job was to lie to people every day and tell them, "Oh yeah, the way that we used to do business isn't the way that we do business anymore." And I couldn't live with myself that way.
Hmm.
Because, and I know that you're in real estate,
Hmm.
and you could easily misrepresent yourself
Yeah.
and to try and make a deal.
Yeah.
But my integrity is worth more than any paycheck that I could ever have. And you can't buy my integrity.
Hmm.
I can go anywhere and make money, right? And so for me, integrity is number one. For every entrepreneur out there, there's people that do things the right way and there's people that do things the wrong way.
Hmm.
I don't want to work with people that do it the wrong way. I don't want to take I don't want to take your money if you're going to turn around and take advantage of your investors, people that are investing in your business. I don't want to take advantage of them because what does that make me look like? If I associate with somebody that is less than scrupulous, I'm
Hmm.
guilty by association.
Yeah.
And so for me, I can't do that and still sleep at night.
Yeah.
I've got 7 kids. I'm already not sleeping at night.
Well, I like that because I think it is about being around the right people. And I like that you brought that up about integrity and that no amount of money is worth your integrity. And so more people need to realize that you need to be around the right people. And no matter how much money they're paying you or anything at your, whether it's in your doing business with different people or whether it's at your job or, is just to be around the right people. And so I like that you brought that up because that is so important. And then you're setting a great example for your kids too.
Yeah, I mean they see my wife and I, working hard, doing the right thing, and they see us both turning down businesses or turning down business. They see us turning down relationships with people that we know aren't up to par.
Yeah.
And that's really important for me because with especially like the 5 kids that I have that we've adopted out of foster care, the reason that they're in my home is because their parents didn't do the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't follow the rules.
Mm-hmm.
And look what happened.
Yeah.
I mean, I love all my kids,
Mm-hmm.
but the point of foster care isn't for them to get adopted by me. It was so that their parents would make the right choices, and they didn't.
Yeah.
And so I have to be conscious of that all the time to make sure that I'm doing the right thing. And and I hope that they see that. I work real hard to try and limit my mistakes to make sure that they can see my example.
That's awesome. And also in business, now I learned the hard way about being around the wrong people. When I started, I was only 27 years old, and I feel like more people, like you need to help other young business partners or business entrepreneurs. And if you see them maybe going in the wrong direction or maybe they need a little guidance, I think more people should reach out to those young ones and say, you need to be around the right people. And I kind of see you going in the wrong direction. Let me help you guide you over here to the right. Because I don't feel like we're in competition with each other and that we should help as many people as possible in business. If you see somebody that needs a little guidance and making sure that they're around the right people.
Yeah, and all we can do in that situation is do the right thing.
Yeah.
Is do the right thing and say, "Hey, look, I've noticed this."
Hmm.
And I actually had a guy that wanted to do business with me, and I noticed that he was doing things that I wasn't on board with.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm I'm watching the way that you're doing things, and it just doesn't look right to me.
Hmm.
And whether or not it was completely legal.
Yeah.
Legal and ethical can sometimes be two different things. So,
Hmm.
yeah, I really only want to work with people that are completely ethical. And I look, man, I can't work with you on this, and I can't have any kind of business relationship with you.
Yeah.
And and you feel bad doing it, but at the same time, you just got to say, hey, this is the line in the sand. Either you're going to be above par, or we can't do business together.
Yeah, but that could be a pivotal moment for that person where you brought the awareness to him
Right.
and maybe he'll be like, "Oh, okay. I didn't realize I wasn't doing that or I was doing that or whatever." So, I think that's great that you do that because it could be a pivotal moment that might change that person for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
So, that's awesome. So, if a business owner was listening today, wants to start taking advantage of these tax strategies, what's the first step that they should take and how can they work with you?
Well, that's the $1 million question. Um, so yeah, my email is just my first dot last name at cssiservices.com.
Okay.
Aaron.Slavik at cssiservices.com. reach out. Shoot me an email. We always do a free estimate for you. So before you're committed to anything, we're gonna get some information on the property. We're gonna run that through our estimate. We'll give you a low end estimate and a high end estimate, just so you know kind of the range that we're thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And then at that point, then you make the decision. Do you want to work with me or not? I can't promise you that I'm always going to be the cheapest, but I can promise you you're always going to get the best service, and and I'm always going to do things the right way for you. And I've got a list of former clients that would testify to that fact. So
Awesome. Well, how long does it take? Like, is there still time to do anything for this year's taxes?
sure, for March, for a March following or filing,
Mm-hmm.
for me to say, for a March filing, we're talking you've got about a week to get everything together, and so can it be done? Sure. If you're super motivated and and you've got a good CPA that can have all your stuff together right away,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely, you can still do things for a March filing. For an April filing, we still have another couple of probably another 4 weeks or so.
Mm-hmm.
So give you a little bit more time for that. But absolutely, and like I said, even if it's a property that you bought years ago, up to 10 years ago, you
Mm-hmm.
can still get that done. And I like to stress that, it's not just the big guys that can use this. It's not the multi-billionaires that are just looking for one more tax loophole. This is meant for everybody. It's meant for smaller investors too. So
Awesome. Well, Aaron, this has been an incredibly insightful conversation. I could talk about taxes all day long. I actually like talking about it.
I
um,
I won't talk about your mental illness, but go for it.
Well, you've not only shed light on powerful tax strategies that many business owners overlook, but you've also shown how a mission-driven life, whether through family, faith, or business, can create lasting impact. For those listening, if you're ready to keep more of what you earn, unlock hidden cash value or cash flow, and ensure you're maximizing your tax benefits, Aaron is the go-to expert to guide you through the process. Aaron, you said the best place was to email them to connect with you?
Shoot me an email or give me a phone call or a text. My
Okay.
my phone number is 763-477-1372. So you can reach me there via text. Find me on Facebook. I'm pretty active on Facebook, LinkedIn. If you search me, you'll find me. So I'm pretty active mostly on Facebook, but but I do check my LinkedIn every once in a while too. So, at least a few times a week. And so, yeah,
And
we're
we'll put the information on this page too, so that'll be
awesome.
good. Yeah. Well, thank you again, Aaron, for joining us today and for the invaluable insights you've shared. And to our audience, remember the right knowledge can put more money back in your business and your life. Take what you've learned today and start unlocking your financial edge. Make sure you reach out to Aaron. Make sure you email him, call him, or check him out on Facebook, LinkedIn. But stay tuned because our next speaker is ready to take you even further on our journey to business growth and financial freedom. Thank you again, Aaron.
Thank you so much for having me, Deb.